And action! Hello, I'm Erk Brook and welcome to another episode of Erk Pod. Thought that I'd change things up today, actually wearing one of my many ice hockey jerseys. This is an Australian ice hockey jersey for the Australian national team. Not very easy to get via official sources on the internet. I actually purchased this one at a tournament last year that I was commentating at in 2025, and that's where I purchased it. I'm glad that I was able to find one in my size that I fit. We've got the two versions. We've got this home jersey, which is green with a little bit of gold, and then you have what we call the away jersey, if you're the away team, and that's primarily white with green and gold striping. Now, how it sometimes works in hockey is that if you are the home team, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's your actual home or not. You wear the coloured jersey, and if you're designated as the away team, you wear the predominantly white jersey. A good example of that actually was last week as I'm recording this. I'm actually recording this on the 5th of August, 2025. Last week I got to commentate on a game of ice hockey between USA and Canada at my home rink in Newcastle. It was a part of a charity tour to support the Stop Concussions Foundation and also support motor neurone disease research. And so it's the off-season at the moment for North Americans and the NHL. So a selection of players who play professional hockey in the US and Canada donated their time to come to Australia, play a series of matches in Newcastle, one game in Newcastle, 3 games in total in Canberra. And they were there for charity purposes. Great games. Some people familiar to NHL fans, possibly, past and present. Some which we can keep our eye on, which could be aiming to work their way up the hockey ladder. But I thought the Australian hockey jersey, it'll suit today's topic, which I'll get onto in a moment. So the funny thing about it is, it doesn't matter where you are in the world playing ice hockey, there needs to be a home team and there needs to be an away team. And that works out with things like what bench you need to be on, what jersey you need to wear, which direction you'll be skating in which period. And so it was actually quite weird because it just doesn't work out with my mind. I am used to watching the local team, the Newcastle North Stars, play off their home bench, and when I'm commentating, their home bench is always on my right hand side. They're always wearing blue or black, depending on what jersey they're wearing. And then the team that they're playing is at the bench to my left. My commentary position is actually elevated, so I'm between the two benches, and I'm actually looking to do some filming at the rink this weekend, and that'll be a future episode, so I can talk a little bit more about that and have some visuals as well. So why am I telling you all this, apart from the fact that I was excited to be able to call the fastest game of ice hockey that I've ever commentated on? I made my international debut last year in the commentary realm, and this is partly the reason that I'm wearing this Australian jersey. It's partly the reason why I managed to pick the jersey up live in the first place, is because I was there. The first games internationally that I commentated on was Australia versus New Zealand in the women's category. That was October last year. And this year I made my international commentary debut in the men's competition between US and Canada. Now, not an NHL arena. Um, it's pre-season. Some of these guys are going very shortly into their pre-season camps, so they don't want to get injured. So wasn't a lot of big hits, etc., like you'd see in the NHL, but that's not the idea. The hockey was fast and skillful without all the big hits, and it was certainly the fastest game that I've called, that I've commentated on, normally because I commentate on Australian ice hockey, which is primarily slower than North American or European hockey. So I was thinking about doing a show, and I will do this at a later stage, my highlights and what I like around the Newcastle area, which is where I live now. And using the advantages of video, I was going to do that. And then I was flicking around the internet this morning, and before we get to that, and what sort of brought this up, is that I've been using a VPN recently, and this isn't an ad for the VPN that I'm using, or in fact any other VPN. There's no discount code. There's no promotion of a particular VPN, and for personal purposes, I've never really used a VPN. But one of the things about the VPN that I'm using, Surfshark, is that it actually stops ads from being on the screen when you're visiting a website. And with some of the websites, there can be a lot of ads. And so Surfshark and the VPN stops those ads. Funnily enough, it doesn't stop it on things like Facebook sponsored ads or Facebook. It can't do that. But in terms of websites, yes, it can. So when I first got it, I'm in Australia. So I thought, let's set my VPN for somewhere in Australia. I tried Sydney, I tried Brisbane, I tried Melbourne, but I found that the VPNs were disconnecting a lot and reconnecting. So I thought, okay, time to change the strategy. I've got this VPN where I can select anywhere in the world that I want to be. So let's do that. So I picked the fastest VPN in England and in the UK, and so that turned out to be Edinburgh in Scotland. So I thought, cool, okay, no worries. So I started browsing Facebook, and all of a sudden I was seeing a lot of English sites and UK sites and Scottish sites because the VPN thinks that I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland. So it will start serving me English companies, and if I do a Google search for shopping, it'll show my prices in Great Britain pounds and that sort of thing. It will start to show on YouTube, it will start to show more English-based content from England and from the United Kingdom and Scotland and Wales, and more European things that I'm used to seeing, because normally it's Facebook says, or YouTube says, or my browser says, I'm in Australia, so we're going to give you, for the stuff that you haven't liked or subscribed to, by the way you should, it will give you Australian stuff. Now, all of a sudden, it thinks that I'm in England, or it thinks that I'm somewhere else, so it will give me their local content. Then what happened is that it will give me, British pounds and all that sort of stuff, and that's cool. And then I was looking for Canadian hockey jerseys, and so it would give me the price in British pounds, and then I'd have to be like, well, what's that in Australian currency, or what's that in Canadian currency? So I thought the easiest thing would be to switch my VPN to a Canadian server. So online shopping just became a lot easier, looking for Canadian hockey jerseys, for instance. And I did a price comparison between the Australian and the Canadian exchange rates, and it's not that bad. What would get me would be the postage. You know, $70, $80, $90 to post one ice hockey jersey from Canada to Australia. You know, that's what I described to someone as the Australia tax the other day. One interesting thing that I did notice on YouTube and Facebook, etc., is now that I'm getting a lot more hockey videos, a lot more Canadian content, and on Facebook, where people have posted news content, Australian news content, say some of the groups that I'm in are Australian based, and so people will post up links to Australian news sites. It will say, you're Canadian, you cannot receive news via Facebook, because that's obviously a thing that's happened in Canada. So, okay, that's different. And then this morning, I was looking at Google Maps to see where am I going to go today, what am I going to do this week. I'm still on holidays. What am I going to get up to? And it posted that, the Google Map posted that I was in Toronto, in Canada. Oh yeah, that's right. I've got a VPN set for a Canadian destination, so that will be that. And then I thought, let's look at webcams. And just look at webcams I did. I found a site called Earthcam. There's a couple of different versions, but this is earthcamtv.com. And what it does, it selects a webcam and then it will go to the next webcam in a few minutes. And it's based it on the time of day. Now, as I'm recording this at the moment, it is 10:25 in the morning on Tuesday, the 5th of August. In Washington, D.C. at the moment, which is this particular camera, it's 8:24 p.m. on Monday night, the 4th of August, and it's 79 degrees Fahrenheit outside there. So we're just coming up to sunset in the on the east coast of America, and so this view of Washington DC from this camera is quite cool. There's the Potomac River, and a few of the different sites of Washington DC is there. So I thought, okay, let's try and get a Canadian hockey jersey. And one of the reasons that I was tempted was because of the game that I was at the other night between US and Canada, and I was commentating at. Now, for the last few years, I've made a general rule, because I'm working for a production provider, and it's not necessarily a thing where you just rock up wearing a team jersey or okay, we've just switched views. This is Hillsborough Lighthouse Camp, Hillsborough Beach in Florida. So every few minutes it will go to another webcam on a regular basis. So this is a list of webcams that they've selected. So you know probably that you will have good quality webcam. And that's exactly what's happening here. But because it was a special occasion, it was a charity event, that sort of thing, I thought, okay, let's wear a relevant hockey jersey to the event, because normally when I do commentary, I don't want to be seen as biased or against one team or the other. The way that I look at commentary, ice hockey commentary in Australia, is that I am neutral and I'm balanced between either team. Even though this season all of the games that I've been doing have been at the Newcastle North Stars rink. Newcastle North Stars fans generally are not my target audience. And I say that because a lot of the Newcastle fans who could be watching the event are in arena. Yes, there are others that aren't in arena and would want to watch, but the main audience would be fans of the other team who haven't travelled. So I've always wanted to give an honest and balanced view of both teams. Now, and that's generally the way that it works in Australian sports commentary. It generally works in the terms of your balance between one team or the other. Now, sure, there are examples there where a commentator used to play for a particular team and now they're a commentator, so there will be accusations of bias, and sometimes there is actual bias between um, when that person is commentating the team they used to play for. But as a general rule, Australian sports commentary, because it's not team based, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute, because it's not team based, it is more neutral. Whereas for a lot of American sports, and I'm primarily referencing hockey here because that's the one I've got the most experience in, and it works to a degree in baseball as well, is that you will have the choice in many cases of the home team will have a broadcast crew and the away team will have a broadcast crew. So, for instance, the Toronto Maple Leafs against the New York Rangers. So the New York Rangers will have their commentary team. The Toronto Maple Leafs will have their commentary team, and then they will, be at the same game with a slant towards their team. And sometimes you really, really notice it. They call it a homer call, and you really, in some cases, really, really notice the hometown call. Because their main audience is the fan of their team. So I was thinking about that when I was thinking about a jersey that I should wear. The best jersey, and it's probably one of the jerseys that I should have worn, was a Team America jersey with the name of Oshie on the back, TJ Oshie. He is my favourite NHL hockey player, and he's been a member of Team USA for quite some time as well. He's a really good player, but also he's really good when it comes to shootouts at the end of games, and that's what happened in Sochi, in Russia, for instance, where they were just able to keep Oshie going through the shootout, and he won the day. But that was the best jersey that I had from either US or Canada. And so what happens, I walk into the ring, and there's three people that I walk into the ring, and they're all Canadian. So it's like, oh mate, nice to see you. Except for that jersey, they were stirring me up. Okay, this is Roswell, New Mexico. So it's 6:30 p.m. now, and 99 degrees Fahrenheit. So we've switched cams again. I was initially thinking of Roswell, Georgia, because of the airline pilot guy, but no, this is Roswell. This is Roswell, New Mexico. Sorry, I just had to have a drink there. So the three people, one of the people was the owner and general manager of the North Stars team. One of them was one of the former players who was coached and had his number retired. And one of the other blokes who was staring me up was one of the referees of the game. All Canadian. Nice to see you, except for that jersey. So, okay. So I'm thinking, I need to get a proper Canadian jersey if this happens again. And so that was the reason that I was looking for Canadian jerseys. One of the reasons that I decided to switch to a Canadian server of the VPN. So the game went well, my commentary went well, and it was really got me out of my comfort zone in terms of commentary because I wasn't really familiar with the players. I had no idea of what the speed of the game was going to be like. Some of them had played together, some of them had played in Australia, and some of them are currently playing in Australia for their teams that they've been imported to in the Australian Ice Hockey League. And then there's others. It was basically their first time to Australia. And so, like when they arrived at the rink the other day before the game that I commentated on, I just happened to be standing at the front door of the rink when the teams arrived. And so hockey players have lots of equipment. It's hard for them to get through doors, so I was opening doors for them. They had no idea who I was. They were so happy to see someone and to able to interact with somebody who was local. I was able to point them in the right direction of the dressing rooms because it was the first time that the vast majority of the players had actually been to the rink because they were in Canberra previously. So it was good for them just to be able to walk through. I had no idea who most of the guys were because I couldn't recognise them because they weren't wearing their jerseys, so they didn't have their numbers on them. I'd been preparing team lists for a few days, so when they were in their jerseys, I'd be able to recognise them. But just when they're walking around in their their team uniform that they wear to the rink, which in this case was mainly tracksuits, I had no idea who any of these guys were, and they certainly had no idea who I was. The Americans were pleased to see the American jersey, the Canadians not so much, but it was a special occasion. So I decided to do that. My co-commentator actually wore a Seattle jersey from the Winter Classic. So we both decided to wear jerseys. Mind you, we had a little bit of a discussion about that on Messenger before the game. I said, I'm thinking of wearing my TJ Oshie jersey, and there were no real objections or no real comments, so I didn't know what he was going to turn up in. And he knew what I was probably going to wear, but he had no idea what I was going to wear. Speaking of wearing, NTL Sticker Collective, that's me. The shirt of the episode is the one that's on your screen. I'm going to have to change that soon because I've used it for a few different episodes. It is the confidential file. I've actually been designing new shirts as well. Lots of different designs, different colours, and I'm expanding the range into hoodies, etc. as well. So at checkout, use discount code ERKPOD10 for 10% off your purchase of any purchase. Doesn't necessarily have to be this shirt. ntlstickercollective.com.au/democracy manifest. If you are in Sydney in September, the Sydney Fringe Festival is on, and there will be a performance, a succulent Chinese musical, which I have seen before when it made its debut in the Newcastle Fringe Festival a few months ago. So looking forward to seeing that. It was the first time that they'd actually performed it in Newcastle. They performed it over 4 shows. So they've had a few months probably to rehearse things, to refine things a little bit. and it will be interesting for me to meet up with the cast again. They love my merchandise. Uh, I got to see them at the end of their shows in Newcastle. So they've had a few months to rehearse now, so it'll be interesting to see that. That is the Sydney Fringe Festival. I'll leave a link in the description, and that will be in September 2025. So at checkout, use the discount code ERKPOD10 for 10% off your purchase of any shirt. ntlstickercollective.com.au/democracy manifest. So we have moved webcam wires during that advertisement. West Bay, Cam Beach, Rotan Bay Island in Honduras now. So we have moved away from where we were, and we're now in Honduras. It looks like a nice, peaceful... Oh, there's a guy taking a photo. Now, this, by the way, I should mention, if it wasn't obvious, this is happening live as I'm recording this. So, on the other side of the world, we just saw a guy wearing, I think they were pink shorts, or if not pink, at least red shorts, taking a photo of the view in front of the webcam there. Now, Earthcam TV isn't the only one. There's a lot more different webcams, and there's probably webcam networks. And one thing that I might actually do on part of this episode, I'll prep it shortly, and I'll give you a look at. We'll go around a few more scenes here, and then I might switch it to... I don't know if they're actually running at the moment. There's a few different groups that set up webcams, and they set up streams at airports. So I will have a look at setting that up in the next couple of moments or so. Alright, so we're back. Where are we now? We are in Whitesboro, Texas. 7:40 p.m. 88 degrees Fahrenheit. So this one looks like it's more static. No, there's a car that's gone. There are some cars. It's because it's the end of the workday, so nobody's actually working on the site, but I can see some cars on the left-hand side of frame, zooming up and down. Now, this to me, and I could be wrong here, the big giant water towers that you see in America, this could be the base of one of those. I'm not sure, but that's what it looks like it could be. So there's a whole range of webcams around, and I will get round, and I may do more episodes where I'm just talking about the stuff that I'm talking about, and then for the video viewers on YouTube, this gives me a little bit of additional content to use and for you to view as well. So can I actually move on? Oh, here we go. I can also move on. This is the Port of Los Angeles in San Pedro. 5:42 p.m. So this is cool. Hello to Sean and Jen. I don't think there's a webcam in San Luis Obispo, but that's hooked up to Earthcam TV. But this, you could use this as just something in the background while you're doing other things. I am so fortunate, and I love my big screen Samsung that I have here. It's 3,800 pixels wide, I think, from memory. It's a curved widescreen, And so the other day, for instance, on the weekend, I had the ice hockey on AIHL.tv. Oh, that's hard. Um, that I was watching, and I was also watching the NRLW rugby league women's competition in Australia. They had what we call our magic round, just up the road from me, actually, in Newcastle at the stadium. It's where they have all of the teams that play in the competition. There's 10 teams, 12 teams. Yeah, 12 teams in the competition at the moment. And over 2 days, every team plays a game at the same venue. But unfortunately, it was really raining so hard over the weekend. There was a couple of times where the players had to leave the field because there was lightning. They weren't playing in a stadium with a roof, so there was lots of rain. Uh, puddles formed on the ground. The ground got really muddy on Sunday. It reminded me of old school rugby league when I was growing up. So with the size of my screen, I was able to have ice hockey on in one window. I was able to have the women's rugby league in another window. Control which audio I wanted to listen to, and go from there. So that's one of the things I really love about this widescreen TV. Also, when I'm producing things such as Erk Pod or my gaming simulated Erk gaming, you would be able to I would be able to put lots of different places, lots of different windows, and lots of different areas of the screen, and only use the one screen. Now let's see if we can click around again. Let's see where else we could go. Okay, this is another view of the Port of Los Angeles. This is Wilmington. So a different section of the port that we were just looking at. So I love being on the screen at the moment. I've got my main browser. I've got my window that I'm using to record this episode on. I've got the window which is providing the on-screen content that you can see now. And then if a message comes up, I'll be able to see that. I'll be able to see that message. So I've got lots of different options here. So that's the port of LA Wilmington. Let's see where else can we go. So we're going across to the east coast of America again. This is Palm Beach in Florida. So it's nearly 9 p.m. there. Oh, there was a bit of lightning off to the left-hand side there. So at different times of the day, obviously, you'll see different things. And this is what can spin me out because it's approaching 11 a.m. here in Sydney on Tuesday. There's more lightning there to the left of screen. And the sun's just gone down at Palm Beach in Florida. More lightning there, so the lightning is getting closer to the camera. Let's see, where else can we go? This is the Trapp Family Lodge Cam in Vermont. So we're getting close to Canada. It's almost dark there, so I can't really see that much there. This is the village of Ruidoso in New Mexico. So this is a view of the lake. And because it's 6:47 p.m, the sun is still up because it is the American summer compared to the Australian winter. Where else can we go? Hello, where else can we go? I don't know. Have we reached the limits of where we could go? Featured and trending. Let's see. So they've got on screen as well. Pick. You can pick your view. So this is Nepal's Florida. Nepal's beach sunset camp. The sun's gone down, so the view obviously isn't as great as it was, say, half an hour ago when I started recording this episode. This is a Michigan snowman camp in summer, which is interesting. So I'm not sure of the point of this one in Michigan. But 8:49 p.m. there. What is that? Is that some sort of raccoon on the shelf above the snowman to the left hand camera left? What is that? And unfortunately I can't zoom in. Not sure exactly what that animal is there, and I can't zoom in, unfortunately. Where else can we go? So this is the Washington DC camera again. Hillsborough Beach Lighthouse, the Hillsborough Beach Lighthouse cam. So we've been here already. So we're coming up to a time now in America where there's a lot of it's changing from day to night time, but not here in Roswell, New Mexico. So a typical intersection in downtown Roswell. This is Honduras again, the West Bay Beach Cam. There's a couple of people just sitting out on deck chairs on the deck there. This is the Whitesboro, Texas cam again. Back to the Port of LA, San Pedro. This is their featured list. You can search for other locations as well. Okay, this is Wilmington. So it does present a small picture first, and then it goes on to the live shot. Yeah, there's that lightning again. And the Trap Family Lodge cam. Let's see, trending and featured. I think that's... So you can select. So we'll stay for the Port of LA for a moment, and let's keep an eye on that. And in the background, I'll just set something up quickly. All right, here we go. This is another cam. This is of the Chicago River in Chicago that I found I was trying to see a couple of views of the webcams at LAX, Los Angeles International Airport. Then I ended up somehow on Fox 10 News website in Arizona, which gave me a series of webcams that I can view. And this one is of the Chicago River in Chicago. So this will bring back memories for sure, old Jen. Um, years and years ago, before they moved to California, they basically grew up, is my understanding, in Chicago before escaping the Chicago winters and moving to California. So I do miss the whole idea of travelling. So this is as close as I could get to travelling for the moment. I just find it. I've just got so much on at the moment that I'm not really thinking of travelling, and if I do, it's not for long periods anyway. Um, I've been on holidays for, let me see, just over 5 weeks now, or will be just approaching 5 weeks, and then I've got 5 weeks to go because I've got about just over a calendar month before I'm due back at work. So because I was able to combine last year's leave with this year's leave, so that works out. That works out cool. There's one of the Chicago L trains, not the first bridge, but the second bridge. There's a train behind there. I'll leave links to these cams on the show notes in the description, so you can find them whenever you want to and have a look for yourself. All right, we're back. What we're looking at now isn't necessarily a live stream, although they do stream live very often. This is from a group of aviation enthusiasts called SID Squad, and they provide streaming of airport action. There's lots of different lookouts that you can access things from at Sydney Airport. And so this is one of the angles. So I'll just provide some commentary about what's going on as well in relation to it. They do a really good job of being able to, so you can picture what's going on at the moment. At the time of this recording, there was just music playing rather than actual live commentary on site or listening into air traffic control at the same time. So there's no audio with this one. So I presume this is looking from the Ridges Hotel towards the international side of the airport. So this was recorded, I presume, last night, so the 4th of August 2025. As the time says, it's approaching 7 p.m, so it's been dark now in Sydney for a couple of hours. 15 degrees Celsius, a very small wind, and the curfew for the airport kicks in at 11 p.m, and there's actually a countdown for that on the screen as well. So at the moment, this is the view. There are other views as well, and I'll actually find one now. This is the earliest. This is the latest recording that I could find, but I'll find one that's okay. We've just changed views now. This is looking towards the city of Sydney, and this is a different view of the airport as well. Now it's night time, so getting my bearings is a little bit more So we're watching, I don't know how many cameras they've got at the moment, or if they're just switching, or if they've got maybe two cameras and they're just alternating between the two cameras. But we're watching a Qantas flight to Wellington, New Zealand. The catering truck is loading up the flight. So that's quite cool. For my channel, A Mountain of Work, I actually did a couple of, it was like a massive day of recording at the airport at one of the lookouts, and it's certainly not easy just to record the planes coming in and coming out. Now, I don't know how they managed to do it, but like we saw with that Qantas plane there, they actually had all the details of the flight done live, all the details of the flight. There's an Atlas Air freighter that's parked up. The Virgin Australia information on the it's just changed to something else. But how they could have the information on the screen is an interesting one. And doing it all live. This isn't done in a studio or anything like that. This is done by people on the ground. Oh, we've actually got some commentary, have we?
How's your night going? How's the start of the week happening? Are we 5-5 there? Let me know. Let's double check things. Oops. That'd be right, Kurt. Always breaking something.
So now they've got air traffic control in the background.
We're 4 minutes. We're 5 minutes early. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? 5x5 there in the chat. Awesome, guys. Thanks. Lovely to have your company. Welcome back to another Sid Squad show here, high atop the ridges tonight. And if you were listening carefully on the other night's show, I said we were going to be doing a ridges show pretty soon. And look out, here we are. So we're going to take all the action in from the elevated position here from the western side of the airport today, courtesy of our hotel partners of choice, the Ridges. Now, if you just have a look, which way is it? Yeah, above my head just there, the logo there for the Ridges. It's a good indication to let you know where we're streaming from tonight. So, yeah, sit back, relax. And, hey, I've got some good news about the Ridges Hotel as well. If you want to stay here, I've increased the discount. So, yeah, stand by for that. So, I'm excited. It's going to be a good night of plane spotting. Lovely to have all you.
So, we'll just turn the commentary off for a moment. So, that gives you a fair idea. So, they're just setting up to do a live stream starting in a couple of minutes. So, that's the Virgin Australia plane that's landing now, or at the time of this recording anyway. So I really love how they have, and this, as I said, this is all done live by people who are actually at the airport. How they do it, I don't exactly know. But the flight numbers there, where it's come from, the registration of the plane, the type of plane, how old it is, where it is at the airport. And the one that's on the description that's on the right-hand side is a plane that's coming in, Qantas flight QF102 from Nadi, Fiji, registration Victor Hotel, Victor Zulu Juliet, Boeing 737-800, coming in to land on runway 16 left using ILS. There's an Air New Zealand plane that's taxiing. So with Sid Squad, it's not live all the time, but they do have it live when they're live, obviously, and they stream it on YouTube, and then the video's there on YouTube. Now that's definitely not a Boeing 737-800. That's a QantasLink flight Bombardier Dash 8 heading to Canberra. Just took off from runway 16 right. So my suspicions were confirmed. They're doing this stream from the rooftop of the Ridges Hotel, which is next to the airport. Might have to go and check it out one time in summer. Spend a whole day there. And I know when I did my couple of videos, it was a lot of work because I wanted to have at the bottom of the screen some of the information that that these guys have got on the bottom of the screen, and to be able to find that out after the event instead of having it integrated to how they're doing this live. This is a Malaysia Airlines cargo plane. So that's rather cool. So one that I view every so often. We'll definitely have to have a look at some more of their videos and go down to Sydney sometime in summer, and get the big camera out and the big lens and go from there. So that's cool. And I should congratulate Sid Squad, by the way, because looking at this video of what it's titled, they've just... Let me see on another screen here. They've just reached 150,000 subscribers. So they have live family friend chillback plane spotting streams from Sydney Airport, educated expert commentary for people of all ages, very frequent high quality and new plane spotting videos. Plane spotting videos include close-up of ramp action of pushback aircraft takeoff and landing. Heavy aircraft such as the Boeing 747, 777, 767 and 787, as well as the Airbus A380s, 350s and 340s. So that's rather cool. Congratulations to Sid Squad, 150,000 subscribers for live streams of planes coming in and out of Sydney Airport. Aviation's obviously a niche as well, and 150,000 subscribers, plus they run their own membership program, etc. That's well done, and congratulations to them. We should at least let this plane land, shall we? Just don't want to leave the plane hanging up there in with Port Botany in the background there. I should find a day version just to contrast there. Alrighty, this is a daytime version of a Sid Squad screen. I won't stay here for too long, but as a basic introduction for anyone who may not be aware, and also a reminder for me, the Ridges Hotel that I mentioned a little bit earlier, that's it in the background there. So they're shooting from the other side of the airport to the ones that we saw the nighttime videos. This is a daytime video recorded a couple of weeks ago, just after 10 a.m. And there's a Qantas A380 has just left the gate on the international side of the airport, and it will be taxiing out. We'll probably just stay with this until the plane comes off. But as I was saying, and sometimes they'll do this, they'll see something else taking off and then they'll cross straight over to it. This is the Thai flight. It's on the bottom right of the screen, flying to Bangkok. It's taking off now. And there is so much talking about my personal experience, and this is one of the reasons that I have this in the background of the times, the major time of nearly a couple of years ago now that I think about it. Uh, there's so much going on. Like they've seen that Thai plane just about to take off and taking off. They do want to capture this Qantas A380 taxiing and then going to take off, so they want to be able to capture that. But there is just that much going on. There's another plane that's taxiing out as well, and then that's not including all the supplementary activities that's going on the ramps, on taxiways. There's so much to see and focus on. There's another Qantas plane in the background, but they've obviously decided to stay focused on the A380. There's a Malaysia flight over there, and also a Singapore flight at the stands over there. Can be quite a long taxi. A beautiful winter's day in Sydney Airport. What date was this? This is a Garuda Indonesia flight to Denpasar. What I really need to do, um, and of course this is all hypothetical, is figure out when they stream and then go to the airport. I record my stuff, and then I've got their stuff as reference to go. Oh, what plane was that? Oh, that was an internet. That was a that was an Indonesian air flight. There's Atlas Air over there. The Qantas A380 still taxiing off with Botany Bay in the distance. But there's just so much going on. So British Airways plane in the background that's about to come in towards shot now. Sydney Airport's divided into two halves for their terminals. The international terminal, which is what they've mainly been focused on, and the domestic terminal, which is closer to camera. So there's Finnair, there's Qatar over there as well. Atlas Air for cargo. And to be able to do all of this live and have all this information, there's the air traffic control tower very briefly. So a Virgin plane. Is that a Virgin or a Rex? That's a Virgin down there. So lots of different types of planes, domestic and international. I'm just waiting for this A380 to take off. Hasn't got round there yet. It's depending on where you are and where you're taking off from. It's a fairly long taxi. Oh, this is Viet Jet Air. I was trying to read what their have I got this on maximum resolution, by the way? Yeah, I do. Oh, there's the A380, so it'll be taking off shortly. Then you get your little Qantas Link prop planes in the foreground there. There we go. Fiat Jet off. Fiat Jet Air, off we go. Just the camera work. I've tried this and it's not easy. It's not easy. As it goes off to the north. So there's the A380, the control tower on the right-hand side of frame. I sincerely hope that there's a lift in there. We go from one extreme of size to the other. This is an air ambulance. Ambulance Service New South Wales. So there's a big contrast between a Qantas A380 over there and a very small air ambulance in the foreground. So we'll just wait for this Qantas A380 to take off, and the commentary is a lot better on Sid Squad. I'm a rookie in aviation compared to those guys. We've got another very small plane taking off in comparison to an A380, or they anything small compared to an A380. Looks very small from there. It is actually a Boeing 737-800 Virgin Australia flying to Adelaide. Off it goes. So Sydney Airport, it's very centrally located. It's about 8 kilometres from the centre of the city. And I really haven't explored. I've only really explored one of the many vantage points there are to look out here. Right, there's the A380. I think they're waiting for the Hong Kong Airlines to come in first. So the Hong Kong Airlines Airbus A330 will be coming in on runway 34 right. There's a Qantas Link plane to Tamworth. There it is there. There's the Qantas Link plane to Tamworth taking off on runway 34 left. So we're just waiting for the Airbus A380 to take off. It's a bit early. I think that's the London flight. I think it's too early for the LAX A330. I could be wrong. We'll find out in a moment. But they'd have a great view in the control tower. The new Western Sydney International Airport, by the way, is under construction. It won't have a control tower. It'll have a virtual control tower. And the Western Sydney International Airport, which is located close to where I grew up in Sydney, is actually available now on Microsoft Flight Simulator, even though the airport's not open yet. Okay, here goes the A380. That's flying to Tambo. QF63. So here we go. How those things manage to get into the air. The A38 is so comfortable to ride in as a passenger though. I've flown on the Singapore Airlines version of the A380. And off it goes. So QF63 flies between Sydney and South Africa, Johannesburg. Okay, that solves that little mystery. Alright, the last one that I want to explain and show you, which is totally different and not a webcam. It's me. It's a mountain of work, and why I wanted to show parts of this video is because recently I have purchased, well not recently now, it was in April. Recently I purchased a Insta360 X4 camera. And I'll explain what that does as we go through the early parts of this video. So this is my train channel, A Mountain of Work, which you can find on YouTube, and I'll leave the link. There are always links to A Mountain of Work on the show description of the episode notes, the show notes. And so this was the first time that I actually used this camera beside the tracks. Noise warning, level crossing bell sounds. So this is recorded on a Insta360 X4 camera. And so there's two lenses on it, one on the back, one on the front, and it records 360 degrees around me. And so you've got various, so what we're seeing on the screen now is 4 different files that were filmed on different places at the level crossing, different points of view, and for different durations. And so what I can do is pick one of those and then work on the file. So with the top one, for instance, there may not be anything that's relevant behind me. So I can select that file and then I can just aim what I can see on the screen as the final edit, aim it towards the level crossing, and then that will be what I capture in post-production. But I can also, if we have a look at the file on the bottom right hand side, the one that's looking directly across the tracks, what I can do, and we'll see examples of this, we have this view, and then I can run through that as the train passes. That's one view. And then what I can do, I can go back to this file, which goes for 26 seconds. So the first view I could select of the bottom right hand side that runs for 26 seconds, looking directly across the tracks with the yellow lines across the tracks. I can look at that and I can go, okay, I want one view to be of this view, so the train will go past. And then I go, okay, I want a different point of view. I want to move the camera looking more towards the left-hand side of the level crossing, and I want to zoom in a little bit. So that's using the same file, but a different angle without loss of quality. And then if I want to do the same again of the train moving away, I can move the file towards the right-hand side, and we'll see examples of this. I'm not going to show the whole video, but we'll see what. So here's the level crossing. This is the first time that I am using this camera to record in a railway environment, and there's a steam train arriving. Now on a mountain of work I don't talk, and that's because it's about the trains, it's not about me. So I've selected different angles. It's the same camera, it's the same footage. It's the same footage but a different point of view. And then another point of view as the train's departing. So this is another point of view. Again, same footage, same file. It's just a zoomed in view of the train. Now this is a different train, a different file. So I've just used different angles of the same train of the same file. Same train again, different point of view. XBT train to Sydney. So this is a same file, different view. And this time I'm looking more at the level crossing itself and the building behind the level crossing, and then the cars coming across the level crossing as the train departs. So just waiting for the train to clear the track circuit, and it has. So here's a coal train. So to do this with a normal camera, I would have to use multiple cameras, or I would just pan, but I would only get the one shot at it and then that's done. But what I could do here, and what I did do with this camera, is just have the camera running once. It records all the angles, and then I can select what angles I want. I could use various angles. Now with coal trains in the Hunter Valley, sometimes they have all their locomotives on the front. Depending on the operator, sometimes they have on the front and one in the middle. And then with some trains again, they have a locomotive on the front and a locomotive on the back. So this is why for Hunter Valley coal trains at least, I always try and capture the whole train. We won't see any examples on this video, but there are examples where you'll see a loco at the back, loco at the front, or an extra loco in the middle. Because these trains are so long, sometimes you'll have parts of the train going up the hill where other parts of the train are going down the hill still. And wherever the extra helper locomotive is at the back or in the middle, it's still being controlled from the drivers in the front. So if I wanted to, I could also record me recording the trains, but I don't. I have a monopod that goes up to 3 meters. It's up to 3 meters long. So this is a repeated view of that train from different angles. I will move forward a bit. This is the other side of the level crossing. So we've crossed the tracks. So depending on the speed of the trains, this road could be blocked for 5 minutes or more. But one thing I have noticed with this camera, because it works with the app on the phone, on this particular day, and any time I use this camera, I just have to concentrate on capturing images with this camera and this camera only. So I'm mainly thinking about from where I'm capturing the image from. So am I going to capture the train from this side of the tracks or the other side of the tracks? That's all I'm basically thinking about. And then when I know the train's coming, which is one of the advantages of being at a level crossing, you automatically know when the train's coming because you've got the level crossing. This train's taking forever. So we're back to the other side. So all I'm thinking about here is, where am I going to base myself in the camera? And how high am I going to have the monopod? I've got the monopod up fairly high. It's not at ground level, it's well above my head at this point. Because the rest of it, when the train comes through, etc., I can handle that in post-production. So if I want to think of this view as a more of a CCTV style view, if I want to think of it like that, and then because at this point I don't know where the train's coming from unless I'm looking at up one direction or the other. And that's what I would need to do if I was using a camera or if I was using a phone. I'd have to go, okay, where's the train coming from? Where can I see the train? and then as soon as I can see the train, I can plan the sort of shots that I'm looking for, depending on the type of train and what I want it to show. But when I'm using this camera, I'm just concentrating on where I'm going to stand and how high the camera has to be, and then the rest of it I can handle in post-production, and I can decide the multiple points of view. Okay, so we can hear a train coming now. Because there's junctions ahead, the train speeds are pretty slow. So this is a container train. This camera can produce like a fisheye effect like it is now. So with this sequence, this view is what I've decided to start this sequence with. And I'm not making this decision when I'm recording. The camera is still, it's on top of the monopod, and the camera is still. I'm not making any decisions at that time where I'm deciding to focus or where the train's going to go by. This is basically acting as a static camera. And then when I get into post-production, I'm deciding what sort of views that I'm going to... What sort of views am I going to have? Am I going to have a really close-up view of the train in one sequence? Am I going to be zoomed back? Am I going to start with this side-on view? Am I going to start with a front three-quarter view? Run that, and then run this one, and then run a three-quarter view of the train going away. Weather can be a factor. I know on this particular day, when I was there, this was in autumn, so it's basically the middle of the day. But I did notice on the other side, I was shooting into the sun, so I had to consider that. I had to consider that as a factor. With these long trains, I do like showing the whole train at some point. There are some people who will show like the locomotive in the first few carriages, and that's basically it. But there's a bit of variety, even with the different colours of the containers. Some wagons being empty, so they'll run around between Sydney and Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, etc. It'll basically be the same length the entire time, with the certain amount of slots. And if it's loaded, that's great. If it's not loaded, well, they'll keep the train the same length, because it'll go back. Say it goes from Sydney to Melbourne today, it'll go back from Melbourne to Sydney tomorrow, and then maybe from Sydney to Brisbane the day after that, and then from Brisbane to Sydney the day after that. So they'll use the maximum length they can for what they know they're going to get. See, on this shot, I wanted to show some of the traffic as well, because the boom gates were down for quite some time. I wanted to also show how busy this intersection was. Now this is some close-up views of the locomotives as they're going through. So in that previous shot and in this one as well, I want to show the amount of traffic that goes through also depends on how long the gates have been down, because if the gates have been down for like a long period like they were, there's a little bit of my hand where I'm actually because on the screen on the phone I can see what's on the screen on the camera, what the camera is showing me. So I can see that. I'll pick a view of the other side. So in this shot, this is filmed from the other side of the tracks. The sun was a factor. So it didn't matter what view I was using, the sun was there. So the sun was always there. So this train goes through, and from where I am, visibility of trains arriving in that direction is very limited. I usually prefer to record on the other side of the tracks. So, same train, slightly zoomed in, no loss of quality. Different angle, focus this time on the infrastructure, no loss of quality. Now in post-production you can zoom in so far and then it says zooming in any further will mean loss of quality. So I have found that I'm doing one or the other. There's been times where I've taken both this Insta360 camera and my phone, and then I've got to site and I'm like, nah, there's no real benefit to the 360, so I'm just going to use the phone. But this time I'm using it as a test before Maitland Steamfest the next day. So I wanted to use this camera, and it was the first time that I'd used it in conjunction with trains. But this shows you hashtag not sponsored. And I was hesitant. Like, I'd heard of the Insta360 and I was hesitant because with those videos at least, I don't want to appear on camera. Whereas if I was using this camera with Erk Pod, which I plan to at some point, there'd be no problem with me appearing on camera, because that's the difference between Erk Pod and a mountain of work, where I don't appear on camera and you don't hear my voice, and I don't want to. Oh, there's a truck. The train blowed its horn and a truck's blown its horn in response. So the lights and the bells continue until the boom gate is fully up and running. Yeah, I think it's it's this side, but I'm not exactly sure when. There's a guy that comes walking across the crossing with a dog. And as an experiment, I feature the guy with the dog as he's walking towards me, then as he walks past me. Because this can record in 360 degrees, I just keep the camera static in the one spot, and then if there's something which I later see, well then I can focus in on that. And that's exactly what happened at one stage during this video. From the other side of the tracks, when I was on the other side of the tracks, I didn't realise it at the time because I was focused on the trains. I should actually see if I can find it. I didn't bookmark it. Oh, there it is. Did you see that insect? Did you see that insect? I'll go back in a second. It was just luck that I happened to find where it was. Might actually see it in some of these different angles of this train. I was focused on the train, so I was just standing there, and then it was only in post-production when I saw this insect. Go back its head. So yeah, I noticed this when I was in post production. I was putting this video together. There it is. There it is. Now, when I was shooting this, I don't even know if that's a bee or what that is. When I was recording the video, I was obviously focused on the train, so I'm just standing there. I've got the camera fairly high up using the monopod. The fencing there. The actual pole that is in the foreground there, that is higher than my head, so I've got the monopod with the camera on it fairly high. I can't remember if it's at its full extension of 3 meters high or not, but I was going back and I was editing the videos and deciding what angles I picked, and then I saw this insect that as I said, I don't know what it is. Flying around. I didn't notice it at the time, but I certainly noticed it when I was putting it together. So I focused on that. Because I did pretty much like I'm doing now. I'm like, okay, I got this shot. Okay, that's cool. And then I noticed that, and I'm like, hey, what? Behind where that locomotive's going is into a workshop. Yeah, so when I was putting this video together, and it actually took me quite some time to do. It took me. Here's some fun facts. The video, the raw footage that I captured went for about 57 minutes, and I was on site for probably 3 hours. And I'm not recording the whole time. I'm only recording when I know that there's trains coming, or immediately before, immediately after, like this. So there were a couple of times in that shot where the insect was flying around. So 57 minutes of raw footage. With the camera angles that I selected, it ended up being about 84 minutes. Now, by the time that I finished... Oh, this is a good one, actually. This is a heritage diesel haul train that was also going up to Maitland for Steamfest. So it was 84 minutes, basically, of when I put everything together. Now I had to construct all the on-screen graphics myself, which took some time. And then I needed to organise all the footage and then save and upload it. Oh, there's that insect again. So it took me for 84 minutes of video, it took me probably 6 hours, maybe a bit more of post-production over a period of 3 days. And a lot of this was because I was picking different angles that I wanted to feature. But one of the things that I didn't understand at the time was because I was able to use the images from my phone that I'd downloaded from the camera. I thought that I'd downloaded them from the camera, but I actually hadn't. So that caused issues when I was trying to work with the final file. Then I worked out to download it to the phone, and then I was all sweet after that, but it still took 6 hours of post-production over a time period of about 3 days. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I notice that there's a bit of smudging. You have to be really careful with the covers for the lenses. Sometimes... Oh, there's the insect again. Sometimes it depends on where you're looking in relation to the sun as well. Now, every video that I record with this camera isn't necessarily going to be like this, but it was just me partially experimenting with the different angles that I was able to capture, both live from the tracks themselves and in post-productions. So what I'm trying to do with this one, provide a different point of view. Sometimes I zoom in during this video, sometimes I zoom in really tight. But I think what I'm about to do is to let the train pass over the level crossing, and then the cars will depart after that. And that's a sign for me, at least, that I'm going to move on to a new shot. Now this is at this level crossing at this particular point in time. At a different place with different angles, different points of view, different trains. Obviously every video is not going to be like this. So about the work, there's lots of different trains, lots of different angles. In the month of August I'm actually going to try and get out more on a Wednesday and record things. Go down to Sydney every Wednesday and record things over the month of August while I'm actually not working. And so we're going to look at the same train from basically what I call the CCTV view. So this is the Northern Tablelands Explorer to Armadale Maury. This train the other day, when it was going in the Northern Tablelands, there was a whole heap of snow, which normally doesn't happen even in winter. It has to be a rare event for snow to fall in the Northern Tablelands where that train goes. But the train was blocked by snow and falling trees, and so the passengers and the crew actually had to stay on that train overnight until the line could be cleared. So that turned out to be a little bit of an unusual adventure for the passengers and the crew on board that train on Saturday. This train runs during the day in both directions, and because of the snow and also trees across the tracks, and getting buses out to the passengers was difficult as well, because there was snow on the highways, trees down as well. So it was thought that the safest course of action was for the train to remain where it was until they could return it to a major station. Which is a really unusual occurrence to have snow to the extent that the highway and the railway are both blocked at the same time. So a bit of a range on this episode. We went from having a look at some trains in Newcastle. We had a look at some webcams in America, and we also had a look at Sydney Airport plane spotting. So that's basically me done for this episode. I am still on holidays throughout the whole month of August, which has just started, and I go back to work mid-September. So doing lots of gaming, getting lots of stuff done, enjoying not going to work. I've got my final hockey game coming up this weekend that I'll try and record some footage at for something different, and trying to do some more stuff with the trains on Wednesdays. Don't forget, there's full links in the show notes, episode descriptions about of work, Erk Pod, and also Simulated Erk. Hope you enjoyed the last episode. Realise it may not have been for everybody, and I know it might not have been for everybody. That was in relation to playing an ambulance simulator. I've almost finished that game, by the way. I've unlocked everything, so I'm almost finished there. So don't forget, my Democracy Manifest store. Use the checkout discount code ERKPOD10. Use the discount code ERKPOD10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase for anything in the NTL Sticker Collective collection. And I'll leave a link in the show notes as well for the Sydney Fringe Festival in September. I have been Simulated Erk. You have been wonderful. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. There we go. Alright, Simulated Erk is over. Hang on, where's my arm? It's over there somewhere. I'm Eric Brook. Thanks for watching. Cut. I know they don't do it like that, but I do it like that anyway because I can. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta and farewell.